This video is brought to you by Blessed Be God Boutique, maker of Catholic fashionable apparel, handmade accessories, and more.
Catholic prophecy is filled with warnings from heaven about the state of the future world. In the future world, we actually mean likely our time. How long that will last, the situation the church is in today and the state of this sin-steeped world, we don't know. Catholic prophecy from approved sources, from the various levels of approval, are vague on that, to put it mildly. They come in two forms, these warnings. One come from Marian apparitions, which tend to get the most scrutiny from Rome, and the other come from individual mystics, who almost never get investigated by Rome unless they're up for canonization. Sometimes, or more often, they are given a sort of tacit approval by the local bishop, and then Rome is informed and then nothing happens. It's usually how these things go. But these warnings about our time, they're so numerous, a book could be written on them. Perhaps I should do that. Suffice for now, let's focus here on, first, Marian apparitions. I'm going to go with two Marian apparitions, just portions of the messages that they contained that warn people centuries ahead of time of what was coming. And then afterwards, the remedy for these from saints, that many of whom you have never heard of before. And you will get a message here that I think is useful, if uncomfortable. That the remedy to this is to be a better Catholic. As Pope, to paraphrase Pope St. Pius X, all the troubles of this world can be summed up because of bad Catholics. Messages of Our Lady. The first Marian message, from Our Lady of the Good Event of the Purification, sometimes translated as Our Lady of Good Success. According to Our Lady, "Oh, if only human beings and religious knew what heaven is and what it is to possess God, how differently they would live, sparing no sacrifice in order to enter more fully into possession of it. But some let themselves be dazzled by the false glamour of honors and human greatness, while others are blinded by self-love, not realizing that they are falling into lukewarmness, that immense evil which in religious houses destroys their fervor, humility, self-renunciation, and ceaseless practice of religious virtues, and fraternal charity, and that childlike simplicity which makes souls so dear to my divine Son and to me, their mother. Remember the words of the royal prophet. How marvelous are the works of the Lord. Be convinced of this truth. Teach and impress your daughters, both living and those to come, that they should love their divine vocations. Reveal to them the glorious place that God and I are saving for those who belong to us, our heirs. Woe to the world should it lack monasteries and convents. Men do not comprehend their importance, for if they understood, they would do all in their power to multiply them, because in them can be found the remedy for all physical and moral evils. No one on the face of the earth is aware whence comes the salvation of souls, the conversion of great sinners, the end of great scourges, the fertility of the land, the end of pestilence and wars, and the harmony between nations. All this is due to the prayers that rise up from monasteries and convents. Oh, if mortals only understood how to appreciate the time given to them, and would take advantage of each moment of their lives, how different the world would be, and a considerable number of souls would not fall to their eternal perdition. But this contempt is the fundamental cause for their downfall." An excerpt from Our Lady of Laet, given over 2 centuries after Our Lady of the Good Event of the Purification. "I have given you 6 days to work. The 7th I have reserved for myself, yet no one will give it to me. This is what causes the weight of my son's arm to be so heavy. The cart drivers cannot swear without bringing in my son's name. These are the 2 things that make my son's arm so heavy. If the harvest is spoiled, it is your own fault. I warned you last year by means of the potatoes. You paid no heed. Quite the contrary. When you discovered that the potatoes had rotted, you swore. You abused my son's name. They will continue to be spoiled, and by Christmas time this year, there will be none left." Seeing the puzzled look of the children, Our Lady changed from French to the local dialect in order to make herself better understood. "If you have wheat, it will do no good to sow it. For what you sow, the vermin will eat, and whatever part of it springs up will crumble into dust when you thresh it. A great famine is coming. Before that happens, children under 7 years of age will be caught by trembling and expire in the arms of those holding them. The others will pay for their sins by hunger. The grapes will rot, and the walnuts will become worm-eaten. If my people are converted, the very stones will become mounds of wheat, and the potatoes will grow self-sown. Do you say your prayers well, my children? The children answered with one voice, Not too well, madame, hardly at all. The lady said, Ah, my children, it is very important to do so, at night and in the morning. When you don't have time, at least say an Our Father and a Hail Mary, and whenever you can, say more. Only a few rather elderly women go to Mass in the summer. Everyone else works every Sunday all summer long, and in winter, when they don't know what else to do, they go to Mass only to scoff at religion. During Lent, they go to the butcher shop like dogs. Have you ever seen spoiled wheat, my children? No, madam, declared Maximin, quick to speak for Melanie as well as for himself. Turning toward him, the lady said, But you, my child, must have seen some once near the field of coin with your papa. The owner of the field said to your papa, Come and see my spoiled wheat. The two of you went. You took 2 or 3 ears of wheat in your hand. You rubbed them together and they crumbled into dust. Then you came back from coin. When you were only half-hour away from the core, your papa gave you a bit of bread and said, Here, my son, eat some bread this year anyhow. I don't know who will be eating any next year if the wheat continues to spoil like this. Oh yes, madame, now I remember. Until now, I didn't, he admitted. Those are from 2 of the most famous Marian apparitions ever. 2 of the keystone pieces for understanding the broader third secret of Fatima. Rome tried to suppress the third secret, but as I have demonstrated in a video earlier, probably about a year ago now, if you simply synthesize what approved Marian apparitions had to say about what was coming, you can deduce what the third secret was. Not the exact text, but what its message was. You can find that video on this channel if you are so interested. But for now, we pivot to a couple of saints and their message on how to save the world, basically, in this time of sin. According to the saints, the following are the remedies. According to St. Gasper, in every era the Lord has inspired certain devotions to stem the tide of iniquity. We also see that in times past the Church was attacked in this or that doctrine. Today the war is being waged against religion as such and against Christ crucified. We need therefore to re-emphasize the glories of the cross and of our crucified Redeemer, to reopen the fountains of mercy, just when the devil would make us the victims of wrath. Now more than ever, it is opportune to tell people at what price our souls were redeemed. We must let it be known how the blood of Christ cleanses the souls and sanctifies them, particularly by means of the sacraments. We must arouse them from their insensibility by reminding them that His blood is offered up every morning upon the altars, and that instead of blasphemy and insult, we should give it adoration and praise. I repeat, let us propagate widely this very important devotion. Let us often meditate on those words, making peace through the blood of the cross, both in the heavens and on earth. May Jesus be our love. Become attached in fervor to the devotion to the divine blood, which softens every heart, and do not fail to turn frequently to the most holy Mary Immaculate, under whose protection it is most helpful to remain. And as one biographer of St. Gasper describes, Blessed Gasper del Buolo frequently assured his contemporaries that those who foster devotion to the precious blood shall obtain mercy in times of tribulation. The remedy to the sinful age, according to Père Lemmy, vicar of the Corneveur and mystic. The prayer of the children must be the foundation of everything. If only we did not place obstacles in the way of Our Lady's empire over our souls. She told me she desired a new congregation. The dispersal of the congregations was more a punishment for the people than the individuals concerned. The monasteries will flourish again, and the convents will once again be filled. After these calamities, many souls will come to dwell in them. Prayer and offered in union with Our Lady has great power. Our Lady remains the sanctity of family life. She requires that disorder should cease, and that people should observe order once more. God asks only this that He may grant them pardon. If people had heeded her, the war would not have come. I will not tell you a 10th part. There are some things it would not be well to say even in 40 years' time. Besides this is perhaps the least suitable epic that has ever existed for revelation. I do not mean that small fraction of the people who are fervent Catholics. It is just those who do not need revelation. Penance, penance, penance. Terrible times are coming. The times we are living now, 1914 to 1918, are as nothing to what we are soon to see. how our Lord must have suffered, and yet Christians are always seeking pleasure. If it were thus in the green wood, how shall it be in the dry? The First World War had 3 causes: blasphemies, works on Sundays, and desecration of marriage. When we are not in a state of grace, would like to help us, but they cannot. They often save us from accidents. Our Lady was weeping over the world. There are few devout souls nowadays. Our elder brothers are scattered all over the world, but they will not be abandoned. God never forsakes his own. As to the apostles of the latter days, I only know one thing. Our Lord has said in his gospel that this day is known to nobody. One should never order one's life according to visions, especially according to the visions of others. In material things, we must use common sense. And in spiritual things, we need common sense too. We must be careful of mysticism. The devil stands behind the Mother of God. If you let her pass you by, if you find the devil. Satan is playing his last card. He thinks the game is in his hands, in which he is mistaken. We must pray confidently in spite of his blustering. People will appreciate still more the gentle goodness of our Blessed Lady. Peace will be restored to the world, but I shall not see that, and other things will come to pass of which I shall not see the end. When peace has been established in the world, many things will be changed. The manufacture of airplanes, the exploitation of mines, ironworks, all of this will diminish. There will be no more of these great factories where morality suffers and dies. Workers will be obliged to go back to the land. Work on the land will receive a great impetus. Industry will be reduced to smaller proportions, and it will remain so. But still, old workmen will insist on dying in the towns. When peace has been restored to the world, it will be necessary to re-evangelize it, and that will be the work of a whole generation. There will be many difficulties. The state of the early Christians will come back, but there will be few men on earth then, and there will be another magnificent revival of the orders and congregations. So I'm curious, what do you think of that? Some might find this an odd message to have as we approach Christmas. This is Advent after all, and Advent is a time of penance, and a time of fasting, and a time of preparing joyfully for the coming of the Lord. And while the rest of the world has, the joyful celebrations for what it calls Christmas time, and it's fine to participate in those things, as long as you root yourself in the fasting, in the sacrifices, and the penances that we do at this time. It sounds paradoxical, but it's not. But this is the core message of these mystics. Fasting and penance. Be a better Catholic. Achieve sanctity, or at least work towards it, and to stop sinning. I know this is a radical notion in our time, but I'm curious what you have to say about this. Let me know in the comments, please. Hey, like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. So just sharing this on social media, that helps too. And if you liked what you heard here today, make sure to consider supporting the work of Return to Tradition. It does greatly help to keep these messages going. We have options from Patreon, Subscribestar, and that kind of thing in the description box below, or you can hit that join button, and it does help keep these messages coming. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.